Hi, welcome back to another teacher training video from Pentecostal Publishing House. So glad that you've joined us, and so glad for my friend Angie Clark, who's here with us today. Angie, I know right now in the season you are coordinating the Next Steps program for the UPCI, but you've served in missions in so many capacities really around the world, and that's what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about how all of us are connected to this big world around us, and how whatever age level, certainly youth and other age levels, can get involved in praying for the world and the mission of the whole gospel to the whole world by the whole church. So maybe let's start there. Maybe talk to us about the why behind how we're all connected to a bigger world and bigger globe, and get us started on this topic.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Good to be here. So when we think about how we are connected to the whole world, for me, one of the great places to start planting those seeds is in the younger age groups. And in order to do that, as a teacher, as a pastor, a youth pastor, whatever, when you start talking about missions, there's an element that you have to process that says, and if the people I'm talking to are called, they're going to go. Mm-hmm. And you have to be able and willing to let them go, almost from the start. Because if you want to hold on to them, there are things you won't talk to them about because you know they're going to respond. So being open about that, at some point you're going to bump up against that. But we can start with very young children, getting them to pray for the world, getting them introduced, talk to them about the unreached people groups, show them currency from a place, or talk about different things. So then when they grow up and let's say they get into middle school and the youth group, they're going to have a curiosity and an interest and something like this. So getting them praying in the beginning and continue to pray for those needs of people as they know them. Then we have programs in our UPCI that will help facilitate getting them on location. They've been praying all these prayers. Now they get to go see what they've been praying about. Mm-hmm. So AYC is a great starting point. Kids can go on AYC as young as 14. In North America somewhere. And then once they hit 16, I believe it is, they can do international trips. So there are ways that we can involve them in the field. And then it's like Sister Evangeline Rodenbush said, don't pray a prayer you're not willing to be part of the answer. Mm. So if we're praying for all these missions things, there is a good chance at some point along the way, you're going to have an opportunity to be part of the answer to a prayer that maybe you've prayed. So getting them involved young, praying, and then letting them go as teenagers helps to build that call, because exposure breeds a burden.
Yeah, so good. And this is important. I mean, over 7 billion people, we have to recognize this great big world out there. We certainly want to be praying about reaching our world, and that's a good point. And understanding at some point we may be called to serve and do that. Mm-hmm. I think about even when it comes to the first time I went to a youth congress, for instance, you come from your local church and you walk in and you see this arena of people. There's something that shifts in you when you realize, whoa, I'm part of something so much bigger. Well, I think in maybe a similar way, just the idea of recognizing, oh wow, all over the world there are believers who have this truth, and we're growing together. I think there's something powerful about that.
Yeah, I agree. And I would love to see, I've heard people that go on AYC, or even some Aimers that have come back from maybe a 2-month experience, say, man, every person in America in our UPC churches needs to feel what it's like to go overseas, at least even for a week or two. They come back with that feeling and that fire. And I'll just throw this in here. One of the things we've noticed is that a lot of times our guys are not experiencing a call to go overseas. Maybe they prayed and they were involved in that stuff, but then they have a societal teaching that we, especially here in North America, really subscribe to, which is you need to go to school so that you can get a good job, so you can get a car, so you can get a girl, or whatever order that's in, so that you can take care of your family. And what guys don't understand is there's a lot of girls going and doing missions. So if you want a good girl, you might want to go, because you're going to get the pick of all, like the cream of the crop. They're the ones serving. So one of the things we've noticed is that there's not as many guys. And I wonder if there's some way we can involve them from a really young age in missions concepts and prayer concepts that will capture their attention. And it wouldn't be a guarantee, but it would maybe give them that opportunity to hear a call before all the society things really bombard them. So, I think that's a place we can expand our reach a little bit.
So good. I know there are teachers out there that maybe you've been on a mission trip personally, or maybe you remember, like I do, Sister Nona Freeman and Bug Freeman come to our church when I'm a kid, and I mean, it changed my life. It was just something so powerful. You hear those stories, and we're back to just that exposure factor of, oh, yes, I didn't even know that was out there. And so maybe in your classroom, you can be that voice that helps the children, the youth, whatever age you teach, start opening their perspective to our world out there. We recognize, one of the reasons I have this conversation in a teacher training video is because of creating an atmosphere in your class where God can move, can minister, and help your students grow. Some videos, we may say, okay, here are 4 tips for this particular teaching skill. This is a different kind of video, but it's equally important, because if our job as teachers is to help the students entrusted to us grow to whatever their next step is, whatever age level you teach, creating this culture, this atmosphere where God can expand a burden, put a calling in a student's life. That may happen as children, that may happen as youth, and some of you teaching adults, at creating an atmosphere where that can happen. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation. Now, maybe if there is a way to kind of talk about some practical things, what might a teacher out there who says, that's true, I haven't really been doing enough to talk about, missions or reaching others, whether it's, in our community or around the world. What are maybe some practical ways we could create this atmosphere and take that next step?
I think tapping into your local community is a good place to start, because kids can get their hands in that, or young people can get their hands in that without buying an airplane ticket or without, a big commitment monetarily. Whether it's working in a nursing home, going and visiting there, or if it's taking part in some kind of a community outreach that maybe is already in place and helping to staff it or something like this, that's a really good beginning spot. And you're like, well, what can I do in my class? A lot of missions related type work is not just telling, it's doing. So it does have to come out of the classroom. It does mean getting parent permission. Can I take your kids after church to do XYZ? Can I meet up on Saturday once a quarter? Yeah. Can we participate in the world, what is it called? The National Day of Prayer? Yeah. Is there something that we can tag into at Christmas time if we do Operation Christmas Child, or if there's a program maybe in the UPC, you want to help buy gift cards for missionary kids. I mean, I think it's a matter of finding what button works in your group. Some groups, they're all about orphans. Some groups, they're like, well, that's precious, but we're more into water wells. And like, there might be another group that says, we're not about either one. We're about rescuing from, trafficking, or whatever button it is that turns your people on, like find that button and then just keep pushing it with the mission. And you'll get people that will buy into that because God put them there, I believe. And so then now he's making it possible for them to contribute.
So good. Yeah. So good. We said before the video started, one of the things that I think we have to be careful of is if we just train our children, our youth to be really good pew sitters, it sounds crude, but we can't be really shocked when they get disinterested. I hate to say it that way. Again, we know there's human will and all this kind of stuff. I don't want to be critical. But my point is, number one, there's a world out there we need to reach, and that's foremost. But then secondly, as we do what you're talking about, finding ways to get involved in our community, that's going to help give these students at whatever age purpose. And I think that is so critical. If we're going to help the students entrusted in our care grow, well, they've got to have purpose. We've got to put in work. I love that. Doing is so key.
If we really believe that believers in Jesus, whatever age, if we really believe they're part of the body of Christ, then we need to be helping, as mature Christians, we need to be helping those coming on find that place and start using it and contributing to the body. So I think in our teaching programs, that is a really great place, because you as the leader, you have a heart for them, you're nurturing them, you're trying to help them by speaking into their life and so on. We can get busy and just make it a teaching time, or we can really invest in the kingdom and help the body work in the community, work in the world.
So good, so good. And I can't say enough good things about global missions of the United Pentecostal Church International and the programs that they offer and the support they offer to get children, youth, a way to connect to the world and to missions. So I encourage you to visit the Global Missions website. You can connect with Angie there. You can find out more about the programs that are available. If you would like to get more information, you can certainly do that. So thank you so much, Angie, for being part. I'm excited to see our churches as we take action with some of these ideas that you've shared. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. God bless.